Welcome to another episode of Tips and Tricks here at F.I.R.S.T Institute. Today what I want to do is talk about how to put together a portable studio. We're going to use a laptop, an interface, a little mixer, a MIDI controller, and some speakers. So we're going to start with a laptop. I have my MacBook Pro here with Pro Tools installed. But in order to get signal into the laptop, I need an interface. What we're going to use is the Apogee Duet. It's a nice little 2-channel interface, has really good converters in it. To hook this up, we use USB. So I'm going to just hook up this with a USB cable. It just plugs into the interface. And then I'm going to plug this into my open USB port right here. The only thing you may need to worry about when using an interface like this is installing drivers. Now, I've already installed the drivers on this computer, so we're going to be okay. But if you hook up your interface after you've bought it and it doesn't work, most of the times it's a driver issue. So once the drivers are installed, everything's going to power up and then we're going to be connected. So I'm going to launch Pro Tools, and now my interface is working with my DAW. Let's start here. I have a Mackie 802 mixer. This is a small mixer. You can get it at any kind of music store or anything. Why I'm going to incorporate into this, it's going to give me better control of speakers and my microphone I'm going to plug in and all that. We'll get into details later on something like this in another episode, but what I need to do is get out of my interface, the audio out of my interface, and go into this mixer. And it's going to give me more flexibility when I work with artists or want to program music. So the first thing is I need this breakout cable right here. This will come with this interface. Most interfaces will have something like this. This cable is going to convert the digital signal and bring it out to an analog signal. So I'm going to plug that in right here on this I/O. And now I have the output of my interface that I can feed into my mixer. Don't worry too much about this process. You could get away with just the interface, but this is something where we get a little more complex. Now what I need to do is each one of these is an output or an input to the interface, which is going to feed my DAW. So the first thing I want to do is find out where the outputs are. And I can see this is the output right and this is the output left. So this is the stereo output of my interface. I'm going to hook up some cables. These are some specialty cables. These are XLR to 1/4 inch. All right, I'm going to use these so I can get into my mixer better from the DAW and the interface. Alright, so now that I found my outputs and I have these specialty cables plugged in, I need to get this into the mixer. Then I'm going to be able to hear the signal coming out of my interface and the computer. So here we go. I'm going to plug this into a couple of channels on this mixer. It's going to give me some more flexibility. So let me plug the left and the right outputs of my interface in here, and now they're feeding the line inputs of this mixer. If you want to find out any more of this, you can tune into our channel at F.I.R.S.T for more tips and tricks. Pay us a visit on campus. This is where we get into the more detailed aspects of recording. So once I have this connected, I basically have the bulk of my studio set up here. I have my interface, I have my DAW on my laptop, and I have an external mixer that I can bring multiple mics into, plug headphones and speakers into. Okay, after this, the next thing I want to do is be able to get signal from this into speakers. So we have 2 KRK speakers right here. You can get these again at Guitar Center or any kind of specialty music store. So now we have to connect the speakers to our mixer. So what I'm going to do is use XLR cables. These cables, regular microphone cable, balance level. So what we're going to do is go from the XLR output of the speaker, and I'm going to connect this to the main outputs or the speaker outputs of my mixer. I need to do the same exact thing with this side. So I'm going to take the output of this, again, already hooked up with an XLR cable, and let's get out of the right output of our speaker. Alright, so now basically I have all the cables hooked up to the mixer that we need to get signal in and out of the DAW. Next thing we want to do is hook up our MIDI controller. This is so I can control the instrument plugins in the DAW. This connects also just like the interface with a USB cable. So let's grab our USB cable. Right, I need to find the USB output, which is right here, and then we're going to bring this into my other USB port. Now, if for some reason your computer runs out of USB ports, you can always get a USB breakout box to add other peripherals to this. So I'm just going to bring this over here, plug it in. Again, If this is brand new, you may need to get the driver for this device off the website. This is an Axiom, so you could get it off of the Avid site. Now, once this is hooked up through USB, Pro Tools is going to recognize it. So my DAW now has input from the keyboard. So now we have a full production studio set up right here. I have a keyboard, have a mixer that I can get microphone signals with, have my interface to convert the signal and bring it into the computer, into the DAW. Then we can listen back to everything through our speakers that are hooked up to the board. Okay, let's talk about our microphone setup. What we have here is a condenser mic. It's a C214 AKG microphone, and this device is a shield. This is a screen you can set up that will help isolate the microphone in an environment that's not acoustically treated like a studio, like a professional recording studio. So if I was recording at home or at someone's house or kind of on the road, maybe in a hotel room, and I have to be really portable but still want to get a nice isolated sound so I don't get any kind of reflections from a bouncy room, I would use a screen like this. So we have this set up on a mic stand, we have our microphone connected. This will protect us and let the singer, vocalist, voiceover artist get a good signal, and then I can bring that signal into my mixer, which has my amplifier, my preamplifier for the microphone. And again, this is an XLR connection. So most of what we've had hooked up here are all XLR connections. So what I'm going to do is just bring this over into an open channel I have on my mixer, plug this in, and then this is a condenser mic, so it needs phantom power. Again, a little bit more advanced, but if you want to learn more, you can find out more on other tips and tricks videos. I'm going to turn on the phantom power and get signal with this microphone. So now I'm set up to do programming music, recording vocals, instruments through a microphone. I have control of everything, equalizers, I have preamps, I have all my speaker outputs, and everything connected through the interface into my DAW. Okay, to wrap up today, I want to go back through the process real quick so you can get our signal flow and how we put all this together. So obviously we're starting with our laptop that we have our DAW installed on. You can use any DAW you want. I have Pro Tools running here. What I'm going to do then is that needs to be first connected to any interface you have. So we have our Apogee Duet. We used USB to connect that to the computer. Made sure the drivers were installed and the USB connected and working. After that, we had to take this breakout cable that comes with it, and we needed to plug that into our little mixer, right? So we have our Mackie mixer, and what I did was find the outputs of the Apogee and connect those outputs to two open inputs on my mixer. So I brought this into two line level inputs, and you want to use line level, not mic level. So even though this looks like a microphone input, I have it switched over to line. That's important because it'll distort and not translate really well if you don't use a line level. So now I have my line level outputs of the interface going to the input of the mixer, right? So now what do we need to do? We need to hear our signal, right? So our signal is going to come out of these speakers. If I want to hear my beat, I want to hear my vocals, anything I'm doing, what I want to do is have these connected to the mixer. Right, so I have these speakers, like we did before, connected to the mixer with regular XLR cables. Just your regular mic cables, you can get them anywhere. So I brought this out, brought both sides, the left and right speaker, coming from the mixer out of the speaker outputs. Right, and they're labeled on my mixer right here, it says main outs. And that's what I'm using to send my signal through on this mixer. So I have the mixer now connected to the speakers. Alright, so now I can hear anything I've recorded or play back. I want to use my MIDI controller. Alright, so what I've done is hooked up this MIDI controller, my Axiom, to my computer again with what? USB cable, right? So I've connected the USB cable to my computer. Now I have controller, MIDI controller data available to use my virtual instruments. Alright, so I have controller hooked up, have my mixer hooked up, have my interface hooked up, all feeding Pro Tools, and then the sound from Pro Tools is feeding back out through these speakers, right? Our next part of the equation is our microphone. Right, we have our microphone set up with our shield right here, our SE shield. This is a reflection shield, right? This is going to help prevent any kind of bounces from the walls or a really lively space like an auditorium or a room that's not treated with any acoustics. This is going to help isolate the microphone, prevent early reflections that I don't want going into it. Now what I've done is I've taken an XLR cable and brought this into the mixer on a microphone input. This requires power since it's a condenser mic, so I turned on the phantom power on my mixer, and now I can use the microphone preamp on my mixer to get level. Right? Then this could be hooked up output-wise back into my interface through these inputs. Right? This is one of the things I didn't touch on yet, but if I want to get my mic signal back out, I have to come from the output of my mixer to the input of my interface. And these are the line and microphone inputs to the Apogee. Then all I would need to do is record into a track on Pro Tools. I could make my song, I could add vocals to it, and have it all recorded through my Apogee interface, and then play it back through the speakers, all controlled through my mixer. So this is a whole Project Studio portable studio setup, just using a laptop and a couple of other devices that you can get at any of the box music stores out there. Well, that's another episode of Tips and Tricks. Hope you learned something. Hope it helped you figure out how to set up your Project Studio. If you want more information and see any other videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then you can get these videos delivered directly to your inbox. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.